Hello and welcome back to the channel where I provide regular cricket content on interesting topics. Today's video is the first of a three-part series where I run down who I believe to be the best opening batsman in Test cricket history. Like my spinners compilation, I had originally tried to keep this down to a top 10, but I simply couldn't. As I was finalizing my list, I kept thinking of one more batsman, and then I was scratching my head trying to think who I could leave out of the 10. I believe opening batsmen are the unsung heroes of Test cricket, as they have undoubtedly the most difficult job of the batting lineup, so all of these deserve credit. The criteria I used for what I believe makes a good opening batsman is their overall record, their away record, the quality of opposition faced and match-winning performances. One small bit of housekeeping is confirming who counts as an opener. The player must have played the majority of his innings in an opening position, so for example, although Sachin Tendulkar opened the batting once, he can't be included. Shall we get started? Number 15, Gayle. The universe boss himself is in the main known for his exploits in the shorter versions of the game, particularly in T20 cricket. But what is rarely talked about is his success in Test cricket, where he scored over 7,000 runs in 103 Test matches at an average of 42.1. Gayle was blessed with some God-given gifts, including strength and outstanding hand-eye coordination. When he was on song, he had this ability to regularly hit even good length deliveries for boundaries. Technique and footwork aren't his greatest assets, but most often he compensates elsewhere. Whilst his strike rate in Test cricket isn't perhaps where you think it may be, when he turned it on he could demolish even the best attacks at the top of the innings. His 79-ball century at Cape Town in January 2004 against a talented South Africa team was typical of his aggressive approach. In 2005 he batted almost 10 hours and scored 333 against Sri Lanka and Muralitharan away from home, becoming only the fourth batsman to score 2 triples in Tests, thus proving his ability to dig in. Overall, for his ability to light up a game and an extremely solid record, Gayle is my number 15. Number 14, Boycott. From one extreme to the other now, with Boycott's achievements in Test cricket being impossible to ignore. Making his debut in 1964, the proud Yorkshireman went on to be a mainstay in the English batting lineup for many years to follow. What made Boycott successful was not the hand-eye coordination and strength which Gayle was blessed with. Instead, Boycott relied upon his defensive technique and an almost unbreakable will to grind down the opposition. In a Test career which amassed over 8,000 runs at an average of 47.7, it is strange to suggest that he possibly didn't fulfill his potential. This was because the stubborn Yorkshireman made himself unavailable for selection for 30 Test matches in the prime of his career. This was due to a dispute with selectors and management, who decided against making Boycott captain of the England team. He returned triumphantly in 1977, scoring a century in his comeback Test and another, his 100th in first-class cricket, in front of his adoring home crowd at Headingley. Looking back, his gap was a real pity, as he could have easily gone on to pass 10,000 runs and gone down as one of the best of all time. How valuable he was to England is shown by the fact that only 20 of his 108 Tests ended in defeat, mainly when he failed. For his will to grind out scores and his value to the English side, Boycott is a worthy number 14 in this list. Number 13, Syed Anwar. Over to Pakistan, and quite possibly the most stylish opener in the history of Test cricket. Anwar was not one who used brute force to score his runs, instead utilizing majestic timing and flair to pierce the infield. Like Gayle, he will probably be best remembered for his at times record-breaking success in one-day cricket, but he had an excellent career in the longer form of the game also. Over the course of a 55 Test match career, he scored over 4,000 runs at an average of 45.5. Anwar is one of the rare batsmen who finished his career with both a better average and strike rate away from home. Probably Anwar's most memorable innings was when he scored a career-best 188 not out in the second innings at the Eden Gardens in 1999. His score was 60% of the team's total of 316, and was the cornerstone behind them going on to win the match and resulted in a deserved Man of the Match award. Sadly, it was tragedy which ultimately led to a loss in form for the Pakistani. He took an extended break from the game in 2001 after the death of his daughter and never reached the same level of form. For his elegance and ability to score runs all over the world, Anwar is a deserved number 13 in my list. Number 12, Gooch. Gooch cut a prominent figure in the English batting lineup for the best part of 20 years. With his handlebar moustache and distinctive backlift, he was instantly recognizable at the crease. Gooch is actually a player who, unlike most, hit his best form at the tail end of his career. During the early 1990s, in his late 30s and early 40s, Gooch became the #1 ranked batsman in the world after a string of strong performances. He is probably best known for his absolute domination of a game against India at Lord's in 1990. In this game he scored a staggering total of 456 runs, with a triple century in the first innings. Although that game against India may have grabbed the headlines, he made what many considered to be his finest innings, batting over 7.5 hours at Headingley to carry his bat for 154 in a team total of 252 in 1991. This was against a West Indies attack made up of Curtly Ambrose, Malcolm Marshall, Patrick Patterson and Courtney Walsh. Over the course of his Test career, Gooch scored 8,900 runs at an average of 42.6. Whilst some would consider his legacy tarnished for his decision to play in South Africa during apartheid, this leaves me with a similar question to Boycott. How many Test runs would he have made if he hadn't have been out of the England side, mid-career? Overall, however, for his longevity and ability to carry a poor English batting lineup in the early 90s, Gooch earns himself spot number 12 in my greatest openers list. Number 11, Hanif Muhammad. Pakistan legend Hanif Muhammad is widely regarded as the first cricketing superstar to emerge from the country. At his peak, he was considered one of the best batsmen in the world, despite playing at a time when Pakistan played very little Test cricket. Despite being small in stature, he was big on talent and particularly had the ability to get in and score big runs. Famously, he scored what is still the highest Test score made away from home, when he made a staggering 337 against the West Indies in Bridgetown. That innings was made even more special as it saved the game for Pakistan, with Hanif batting for a mammoth 16 hours, a world record to this day. Hanif held the first-class record as well for around 40 years, having been agonizingly run out for 499 playing for Karachi. The right-hand batter played 55 Tests for Pakistan, amassing 3,915 runs at an average of 43.98. What makes his record more impressive than those stats alone was that he had very little support from his Pakistan teammates. He regularly had to carry the entire batting lineup on his shoulders. What emerged, however, through his stardom was an increased interest in cricket in Pakistan. Hanif almost single-handedly turned cricket in Pakistan from the game of the elite into the sport for the masses it is today. For that reason and his incredible run-scoring ability, Hanif is my number 11 in this list. So there you have it. That is my numbers 15 through to 11 in my greatest Test openers of all time list. As per previous videos, I will throw it over to you now. Who would you have in your top 10? There are some giants of the game still to come, so it will be interesting to read if you see it in the same way as I do. As ever, thank you so much for watching and participating in the comments. I love reading your takes.